The first time they ripped Zenna's wings, she didn't scream. That was the part that confused them most. The Draxian bullies had expected tears, maybe begging, possibly that satisfying shriek that echoed the halls of Zenith Academy when pain became too much to contain. But Zenna just stood there, feathers scattered around her boots like broken promises, and stared at them with those big violet eyes that held something far worse than fear. Disappointment. Krell, the ringleader, a 7-foot-tall reptilian nightmare with scales that gleamed like oil slicks under fluorescent lights, flexed his claws and laughed. It was a wet, gurgling sound that made the other students scatter. Nobody wanted to be associated with weakness at Zenith Academy, the most prestigious intergalactic institution in the Andromeda sector. Here, species from 40 different worlds competed for dominance, and the Avarian girl with her delicate frame and crystalline wings was an easy target. Pathetic little bird, Krell hissed, his forked tongue tasting the air. Maybe tomorrow you'll sing for us before we pluck you. Zenna picked up her data pad from where it had fallen, careful not to step on her own torn feathers. Her wings would regenerate by morning. They always did. That was the curse of Avarian biology. Endless healing, endless opportunity for endless cruelty. She walked past them without a word. That was 3 months ago. Now, standing in the observation deck, watching Earth's moon rise beyond the station's viewport, Zenna traced the scars on her back where her wings connected to her spine. The medical scanners said she was fine. The counselors said she should report the incidents. The administration said they took bullying very seriously while doing absolutely nothing. You look like you're plotting murder. The voice came from behind her, rough and smoke-damaged, with an accent Zenna had learned to recognize as North American English. Human. She turned to find a girl leaning against the wall, arms crossed, wearing a jacket that had seen better days and an expression that suggested she'd seen even worse. "I'm Maya," the girl said, pushing off the wall. She was shorter than most humans Zenna had encountered, with dark hair shaved on one side and eyes that held the kind of damage you couldn't see on medical scans. "You're the one Krell keeps using as a stress toy." It wasn't a question. Zenna's wings, freshly regrown that morning, twitched involuntarily. The humans were new to the Academy, their planet having just achieved intergalactic travel clearance 6 months prior. Most species viewed them with curiosity, mixed with contempt. Humans were soft, they said. No natural armor, no venom, no wings or telepathy or combat instincts worth mentioning. They were wrong, but nobody had figured that out yet. "I manage," Zenna said carefully. Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Right, and I'm the queen of Jupiter. Look, I've been watching this little soap opera for 2 weeks now, and I gotta say it's getting old. That overgrown handbag rips your wings every single morning like it's his job. They grow back. That's not the point." Maya moved closer, and Zenna caught the scent of something sharp and chemical on her clothes. Engine grease, maybe, or weapons lubricant. The point is he thinks he owns you, thinks he can keep breaking you, because you won't break back. Violence solves nothing. Zenna recited the Academy motto automatically. "We are here to learn unity among the stars." "Yeah." Maya's smile was sharp enough to cut. "Who taught you that?" "The same administration that watches Krell turn you into confetti every morning and does jack about it." Zenna's wings fluttered, an unconscious response to stress. Maya noticed everything. She was learning. Those human eyes missed nothing. "Why do you care?" Zenna asked. The question hung in the recycled air between them for a long moment. Maya's expression shifted, something old and painful moving behind her eyes like shadows of ghosts. "Because I used to be you," she said finally. "Back on Earth. Different bullies, same story. Every day they'd find new ways to remind me I was nothing." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing scars that definitely hadn't come from accidents. "Then one day I decided I wasn't nothing. I was something they should have left alone." "What did you do?" Maya's grin could have powered the station's reactors. "I learned that humans might not have claws or scales or fancy regenerating wings, but we have something better. We have spite and creativity, an absolutely breathtaking capacity for revenge." The next morning, Krell found Zenna in the usual spot, The corridor junction between the biology labs and the cafeteria, where the cameras had a convenient blind spot. His crew, 3 other Draxians and a Vorthan who smelled like sulfur, formed a semicircle of menace. "Morning, little bird," Krell purred. "Ready to fly?" He reached for her wings. Zenna smiled. That was new. Krell hesitated, just for a fraction of a second, because prey didn't smile. Prey cowered and shook and made those delicious sounds of fear. But Zenna's smile was calm and cold and completely terrifying in its serenity. "Actually," she said, her voice steady, "I was hoping you'd do that." His claws closed around her left wing and pulled. The pain was exquisite and familiar. Nerves screaming their ancient song of trauma. Feathers drifted to the floor in slow motion. Zenna didn't scream. She never screamed. Instead, she said, "Now." The ceiling exploded. Well, not exploded exactly. That would have triggered the station's emergency protocols and evacuated the sector. No, this was much more surgical. A panel popped open and a net, weighted and electrified, dropped directly onto Krell's head. The Draxian shrieked, a sound that would haunt the corridors for weeks, as 50,000 volts of carefully calibrated current danced across the scales. Not enough to kill. Not even enough to cause permanent damage. Just enough to hurt. Just enough to teach. Lesson 1. Maya's voice crackled from a hidden speaker. Humans cheat. Krell's crew lunged forward to help their leader. But the floor had other ideas. Panels slid open, revealing sticky polymer foam that expanded on contact with air, catching the Vorthan mid-stride and gluing him to the deck like a particularly ugly statue. The other Draxians pulled weapons, plasma pistols that they absolutely weren't supposed to have on campus. Maya had counted on that. Rules were for people who thought they were untouchable. Lesson 2, Maya continued. And now she dropped from the ceiling herself, landing in a crouch that would have shattered human knees on any planet with decent gravity. The station's lower G made her superhuman. Humans don't fight fair. She moved like water, like smoke, like every martial arts instructor's fever dream. The first Draxian didn't even see the punch coming. It caught him in the solar plexus, right where Maya had learned their neural cluster sat, and he dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The second one got his shot off. The plasma bolt sizzled past Maya's ear, close enough to singe hair, and scorched a black mark on the wall behind her. "Ooh, you missed," Maya said, almost conversationally. Then she was inside his guard, her elbow connected with his throat in a strike that was part precision and part pure spite. "I don't miss." Krell finally tore free of the net, scales smoking, eyes blazing with fury and pain and something that might have been fear. He was bigger, stronger, had natural weapons that could shred steel. Maya had something better. She had been broken before, and she had learned that broken things had the sharpest edges. "Come on then, handbag," she taunted, bouncing on her toes. "Let's see what you've got when your victim isn't alone and terrified." Krell charged, all muscle and rage and evolutionary advantages. Maya waited until the last possible second, then dropped and rolled, her boot catching his knee with a crack that echoed like a gunshot. He stumbled, momentum betraying him, and crashed face first into the wall with enough force to dent the metal. "Lesson 3, Maya said, standing over him as he groaned and bled and reconsidered his life choices. "Humans remember every slight, every hurt, every single time someone told us we weren't good enough." She leaned down, her voice dropping to a whisper that was somehow more terrifying than a scream. "And we always pay our debts." Zenna watched all of this with her hand pressed to her torn wing, violet eyes wide, something bright and fierce blooming in her chest. It might have been hope. It might have been rage. It might have been the beginning of understanding that being broken didn't mean being beaten. Security arrived 4 minutes later, which was exactly when Maya had calculated they would based on response time patterns she'd hacked from the station database. By then, the scene looked very different. Krell and his crew, injured and tangled in evidence of their own weapons violation. Maya, standing calmly with her hands visible, not a weapon on her. Zenna, clearly the victim, wings still bleeding. The security chief, a Mantarian with compound eyes that saw in 17 different spectrums, looked at the scene and sighed. "Explain." "They attacked her," Maya said simply. Again, I intervened, as is my right under Academy Code 7.3, which allows students to defend themselves and others from imminent harm. The security chief's mandibles clicked in what might have been irritation or respect. The net? The foam. Science project, Maya said innocently, for advanced defensive technologies. Professor Zirin can confirm. Is it my fault these gentlemen walked into my experiment? Zenna made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob, or both. The security chief looked at her, then at the bleeding Draxians, then at the small human girl, who stood there like she owned the stars themselves. Medical for everyone, he decided finally. And Krell, you're suspended pending investigation. I've been told about the cameras in this junction. Strange that they always malfunction right when you're around. That's not, Krell started, then stopped as Maya's smile widened. Lesson 4, she said sweetly. Humans are very good at finding proof, especially when we've been recording everything for 3 weeks. Funny what you can do with some spare drones and a lot of patience. The security chief's mandibles clicked again. Definitely respect this time. Later, in the medical bay, Zenna sat while a medical drone sealed her wing and Maya lounged in the chair beside her, looking supremely unconcerned about the disciplinary hearing that would inevitably follow. Why? Zenna asked finally. You'll be expelled. Humans are barely tolerated here as it is. Maya shrugged. They can try. Hard to expel someone when you have video evidence of them stopping a months-long assault that the administration ignored. Plus, my dad, the lawyer. Like, a really annoying one. He loves this stuff. Still, you risked everything. Nah. Maya's expression softened slightly. See, here's what I learned back on Earth, after I finally fought back. Sometimes you have to break a few faces to make the world understand you're not a victim anymore. You're a survivor. And survivors don't just survive. They thrive. They take that pain and turn it into power. Zenna's wings flexed, testing the new tissue. They ache, but differently now, like muscles after a good workout, instead of trauma after an assault. Teach me, she said. Maya's grin returned, bright and dangerous. Thought you'd never ask. Outside the medical bay, in the corridors of Zenith Academy, word was already spreading. The human girl had taken down Krell's entire crew. The Avarian girl was done being prey. And in the shadows, other victims of other bullies began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, they could be done too. The disciplinary hearing was held in Conference Room 7, a circular chamber with walls made of transparent aluminum that overlooked the asteroid field beyond the station. 12 administrators from 12 different species sat in judgment, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. Maya sat at the defendant's table wearing her best approximation of remorse, which wasn't very good. Zenna sat beside her as a witness, wings tucked tight against her back, freshly healed and gleaming. Administrator Vex, a crystalline whose body refracted light into rainbow patterns, spoke first. His voice came through a translator, cold and precise. Maya-chun, you stand accused of assault, unauthorized use of electrical devices, property damage, and creating an unsafe environment. How do you plead? Guilty of being awesome, Maya said. Zenna elbowed her. I mean, not guilty, your honors. I was defending a fellow student from assault, which, if I remember my academy handbook correctly, is not only allowed, but encouraged. Unity through protection, and all that inspiring garbage. You put a Draxian in the medical bay for 3 days, Vex continued, unimpressed. He put Zenna there for 3 months' worth of mornings, Maya countered. Where were you then? Oh, right. Reviewing reports that mysteriously never resulted in action. Funny how that works. The chamber filled with uncomfortable silence. Administrator Vex crystalline structure flickered, which might have been their version of irritation. We take all accusations seriously, another administrator said, a Quellan whose tentacles writhed with agitation. But we cannot act without proof. Maya smiled and pulled out a data chip. About that. 3 weeks of high-definition footage showing Krell and his crew assaulting Zenna. Timestamps, locations, even audio where he discusses doing it again tomorrow. Wanting to play it? I've got popcorn. She didn't have popcorn, but the sentiment stood. Administrator Vex leaned forward, light cascading through his form. You recorded this without permission. That violates privacy protocols. And assaulting someone daily violates. Let me check every single code of conduct you have. But sure, let's focus on my camera work. Really shows where your priorities are. Zenna stood suddenly, her chair scraping against the floor. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. She'd been silent for so long that many had forgotten she was there. Prey did that. Disappeared into the background. But she wasn't Prey anymore. For 93 days, Zenna said, her voice steady and clear. I came to you. Different administrators. Same story. I showed you my torn wings. I told you their names. I begged for help. Her voice cracked just slightly, but she pushed through. And every single time, you told me you'd look into it, that you needed more evidence, that maybe I was exaggerating, that perhaps I should try conflict resolution, as if I could resolve my way out of having my body parts torn off. Her wings spread wide, a gesture of defiance that filled half the room. Several administrators leaned back. Maya did in 4 minutes what you couldn't do in 3 months. She stopped them. She protected me. And now you want to punish her for your failure? That's not justice. That's cowardice. The silence that followed was different now. Heavier. Ashamed. The human will be suspended for 1 week. Administrator Vex said finally, given the extenuating circumstances, Krell and his accomplices are expelled, effective immediately. This hearing is concluded. Maya stood, gave a mock salute, and walked out with Zenna beside her. In the corridor outside, Zenna exhaled a breath she'd been holding for 3 months. I can't believe you only got a week. Please add a vacation. Besides, give me time to work on Phase 2. There's a Phase 2? Maya's grin was absolutely feral. Oh, honey, that was just a warm-up. The week Maya spent suspended, Zenith Academy changed. It was subtle at first. A Quellen student who'd been having her research stolen by older classmates suddenly found her lab protected by an intricate series of booby traps. Nothing dangerous, just embarrassing. Stink bombs made from concentrated sulfur compounds. Glitter that wouldn't wash off for days. Recording devices that caught every theft attempt. A small Piscian who'd been shoved into lockers daily discovered that someone had rewired the locking mechanisms. Now they only open from the inside. 3 upperclassmen spent an hour trapped before maintenance freed them. The pattern was clear. Someone was hunting bullies. Someone was making them pay. When Maya returned from suspension, she was greeted like a hero by some and avoided like a plague by others. She preferred it that way. Clear lines. No ambiguity about where people stood. Zenna met her at the docking bay, wings catching the artificial sunlight that streamed through the observation ports. You've been busy. I have no idea what you're talking about, Maya said, examining her nails. I was suspended. At home. Definitely not remotely accessing the station systems, and definitely not building a network of previously victimized students into an underground resistance movement. The Piscian wants to meet you, and the Quellen, and about 15 others. Good. We're going to need numbers for what comes next. They met in Cargo Bay 12, a new storage area that Maya had discovered in the station schematics. 23 students from 16 different species, all of them bearing the invisible scars of systematic abuse. The forgotten ones. The broken ones. The ones who were done being broken. Maya stood on a cargo container, looking down at faces that ranged from hopeful to terrified. Right. So here's the deal. The administration won't protect you. The rules won't save you. The system is designed to maintain order, not justice, and bullies thrive in that gap. A nervous Quellen raised a tentacle. What do? We become the thing they fear more than anything else. We become organized. We become smart. And we become absolutely ruthless in protecting each other. Maya's eyes swept the crowd. No more suffering in silence. No more hoping someone else will save you. We save ourselves. They'll crush us, someone said from back. We're not fighters. Neither was I, Maya said quietly. Back on Earth, I was a 100-pound kid getting thrown into lockers by football players twice my size. You know what changed? I stopped thinking like a victim and started thinking like a tactician. They had strength. I had intelligence. They had numbers. I had surprise. They had tradition on their side. I had absolutely nothing to lose. She jumped down from the container, landing lightly. Here's what we do. We document everything. Every incident, every threat, every assault. We back it up on systems they can't access. We create a network where if someone's in trouble, they signal and we respond. Not with violence, unless necessary, but with witnesses, with evidence, with the kind of coordinated response that makes bullies think twice. And when that doesn't work, Zenna asked, though she already knew the answer. Maya's smile was sharp. Then we make them understand that prey evolved too. We might not have claws, but we have teeth, and we bite back. The network grew. Within 2 weeks, 40 students had joined. Within a month, 70. They called themselves the Equilibrium because they were balancing scales that had been tilted for far too long. The administration noticed when bullying incidents dropped by 60%. They noticed when the medical bay stopped treating the same victims over and over. They noticed when students walked the halls with their heads up instead of eyes down. They didn't notice the surveillance network, the hidden cameras, the encrypted communication channels, the detailed files on every bully, every accomplice, every administrator who'd turned a blind eye. Humans, it turned out, were very good at guerrilla warfare. 3 months after Maya had dropped a net on Krell's head, a new student arrived. His name was Dravik, and he was Draxian, and he was Krell's cousin. He was bigger, meaner, and came with a reputation that preceded him like a storm cloud. He found Maya in the cafeteria, surrounded by her usual group. Zenna on her left, a Pishian named Tem on her right, a dozen others scattered nearby. Not quite bodyguards. More like family. "You're the human," Dravik said. His voice was a growl that made the floor vibrate. "I'm a human," Maya corrected, taking a bite of something that claimed to be pizza, but tasted like regret. "There's like billions of us. You hurt my cousin. Your cousin hurt my friend. Repeatedly. I even the score." Dravik leaned down, his face inches from Maya's. His breath smelled like rotting meat and menace. "I'm going to break every bone in your fragile little body." Maya looked up at him, chewing thoughtfully. "You could try. But here's the thing about humans, Dravik. We're really bad at knowing when to quit. We once fought a war that lasted 100 years. Over a bucket. True story. Look it up. So if you come at me, you better finish the job. Because I promise you, I will not stop until you regret every life choice that led you to this moment." "Is that a threat?" "It's a warning. Threats are for people who bluff. I don't bluff." Dravik grabbed her by the collar and lifted. Maya dangled there, feet off the ground, completely relaxed. "Put her down." Zenna's voice was ice. Her wings spread wide, feathers sharp as blades. "Make me, little bird." So she did. Zenna moved faster than anyone expected, her wings blurring as she spun, her foot connecting with Dravik's knee in the same spot Maya had hit Krell. The big Draxian stumbled, dropped Maya, and turned just in time to see Tem the Pishian fly directly into his face. Tiny fists connected with his eyes in rapid succession. Then the cafeteria erupted, not into violence, though there was some of that, into coordination. 40 students moved as one, surrounding Dravik, pulling out data pads that were all recording, creating a wall of witnesses that no administrator could ignore. "See, Dravik," Maya said, brushing off her jacket, "you made a mistake. You thought this was like before. One predator, one prey. But we're not prey anymore. We're a pack, and packs protect their own." Security arrived to find Dravik surrounded, unharmed but thoroughly humiliated, facing a wall of cameras and students who refused to move. The footage showed him making threats, grabbing Maya, assaulting multiple students. He was expelled before dinner. That night, on the observation deck, Maya and Zenna watched the stars wheel by in their ancient dance. Zenna's wings were intact, gleaming beautiful. She flexed them experimentally, still getting used to the idea that they might stay that way. "You changed everything," Zenna said softly. "We changed everything," Maya corrected. I just lit the match. You all built the fire. What happens now, when you graduate, when you leave? Maya considered this, her expression thoughtful. The thing about starting a revolution is you don't get to control where it goes. The equilibrium isn't about me. It's about the idea that victims don't have to stay victims, that broken things can heal sharp, that the universe doesn't get to decide who matters and who doesn't. She turned to look at Zenna, and her smile was genuine now, not sharp or sarcastic, but real. You'll keep this going. You and Tem, and all the others, you'll teach the next group of scared kids that they have power. And when bullies show up, because they always do, you'll remind them that prey evolved. Into predators? Into survivors. There's a difference. They stood in comfortable silence, watching Nebulous paint the darkness in shades of impossible beauty. Somewhere in the station, a first-year student was being cornered. Somewhere, an Equilibrium member was getting the alert. Somewhere, help was on the way. The bullies had broken Zenna's wings every morning. But she had learned something that morning 3 months ago when Maya dropped from the ceiling like an avenging angel. Wings could grow back, but so could teeth, and these ones were sharp. Years later, when Maya had long graduated and returned to Earth, when Zenna had become the official head of what was now called the Equilibrium Initiative, spanning 50 academy campuses across the galaxy, someone asked her what she remembered most about that first day. Zenna smiled, her wings catching the light, no longer afraid to spread them wide. I remember learning that being broken doesn't mean being beaten. I remember discovering that sometimes the smallest person in the room is the most dangerous, not because of what they are, but because of what they refuse to be. And I remember the day a human girl taught me that the best revenge isn't getting even. It's becoming so strong that what hurt you can never hurt anyone else again. She spread her wings fully, a gesture of defiance and freedom, and hard-won peace. They broke my wings every morning, so we broke their world and built a better one. In the empty corridors of Zenith Academy, where bullies once ruled and victims once cowered, students now walked with heads high. And if sometimes late at night you could hear the echo of laughter, sharp and knowing and absolutely unafraid, that was just the sound of prayer remembering they had teeth and learning to bite back.